suppose it's too late to change our mind.
I think that'd be a smart move.
All right.
Yeah, hello, my name is David Pope. Josh is my grandson, and for the sake of posterity, he's taking some photos today. So I hope everything comes out as he wishes and makes us look better than what we actually are.
I'm Judy Pope. We've been married 64 years, and I'm Josh's grandmother, and I hope that it turns out all right for him too.
You're both looking fabulous.
You're telling fibs.
I'm not. The soft light really does a lot.
The proudest moment would have to have been the day we got married, and followed very closely by the day our first son Graham was born. But when you actually ask proudest moments of my life, I still recall when we were in Peru and Andy had made arrangements for us to take Josh and Crystal to Panama, to a resort there. Panama at that stage was the drug capital of the world. Close to Panama, next door neighbour was Colombia, with an equal reputation. The children had a great time. They played water sports. They had all sorts of restaurants that they could go to, and we felt very close to the two children then. But the thing we're most proud of, that Andy and Lee gave us the responsibility to look after their children when they couldn't do anything. And that's something that I'll always remember.
My proudest moment would be marrying David. That was a wonderful day. It was, we were together and it was a lovely day. Everything was fine. My next proudest moment would have been our three boys, and that was just great. So for me, that was our proudest, well, my proudest moment.
My funniest memory is something when I was a child, I was a country kid, and we used to have city rallies come up to visit us, a small farmhouse, but there always seemed to be places there. Now, I had a reputation for being a little rat bag, which I like to continue with. And this particular time, we had an outdoor toilet down the backyard, and one of the cousins went down the backyard to go to the toilet. And I sneaked along, opened the back trap door, and in those days you could buy penny bombs, which were one big loud bang. So I opened the door, put the penny bomb in there and let it go. Now, I thought it was funny, but the person inside didn't think it was funny, neither did any of the family think it was funny, and I vanished for a couple of hours.
You're not going to say.
Can I say that?
Of course. Perfect. I have vivid memories of you telling me all about that when I was younger.
Oh, you remembered it.
I used to tell Josh stories when he went to bed.
I know, you said Josh would know.
Josh knows more about me than
David
Andy.
always said that Josh would know more about him than anybody else, and he would be right, yes.
I feel honoured.
Good.
My funniest memory was my father backing out the drive on South Road, in those days, gears, halfway across South Road, blocking all the traffic, trying to find first gear to get out of the road, and there's all this traffic backed up. And I thought it was hilarious. He was very frustrated.
How can you stay humble after so much success? I have never been called humble. But I have dealt with many, many people over the course of my business life, and I've made a point of never talking down to a person, and everybody is equal, and I like to be treated as I would treat them. So humble perhaps not, but I like to be a person of the people.
I've never considered that we ever had a lot of money, and I've always said that if you work hard enough, you'll eventually get enough money, but don't spend more than you've got.
How have I managed to keep my humour? I think the most important thing with humour is that you don't take yourself too serious. If you don't take yourself too serious, you have to be able to laugh at yourself. You're going to make mistakes, but don't get upset if you make a fool of yourself, because tomorrow is another day.
You have got to look always on the bright side. Just take each day as it comes and it'll be all right. Work it out.
My secret of happiness, I think, is fulfilment and contentment. You cannot look over the next door neighbour and worry what they've got. What you've got is all that you need. As long as you're content in your everyday and you're not jealous of other people, you're happy. And if you've got as we've got a very, very balanced, happy married life, there's no reason for it not to be happy. And add to that, we have an extended family, which makes us alive. We're not cast in the corner. We're still very much included in everything our family does, and that makes us very happy and proud. Thank you.
My secret to happiness is I married the right person, David. Why wouldn't I be happy? I love him. He's made me happy, and we can always work things out. So I'm very happy and content.
You guys are going to make me cry.
If I could go back 20 or 30 years, I would make sure I'm much more aware of technology that's passing me by. I'd learn how to use a mobile phone. I'd learn how to take photos, and I'd be able to send and communicate with my grandchildren. At the moment, I need my wife to do that for me, which is great, but it doesn't. We don't stay in touch as much as we should. And of course, another reason, if I could go back in time, there are certain properties that I'd still hold and I wouldn't have sold, and it would be a much better financial position than we are today.
That old chestnut, hey?
I should have.
I think if I went back in time, I'd be going back with a list of stocks and be like, make sure you buy these.
But see, if you knew what you knew now, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
We're halfway through and we've got to pass, I think.
Well, I wouldn't mind being around, but
I love you around.
don't want to be distracted.
No, you can go wherever you like.
You happy for me to go
Just
over
make yourself comfortable.
Get that one over there.
Zip! A happy marriage is a successful marriage, but the way I look at it is that you have to look after the other person more than you care for yourself. And we've always had lots of cuddles. We've also always talked before we've gone to bed. And back many years, when we were first married, even when Graham was only 1 year old, we decided to have 1 week away from the children every year, just by ourselves. So we'd go to different places, and there we would talk out what our future was going to be, what our past wasn't going to be, and any way that we could improve the marriage that we had.
That's lovely. Jess and I have actually discussed something very similar just yesterday.
You wrote my thing for me.
What's that?
Yeah, what's the secret of a happy marriage?
A secret to a happy marriage is have the right person, number one. 2, be happy with what you've got and enjoy it. But talk things out. If you have a problem, talk it out. It's not that bad if you can talk it out, and everything will be all right. I knew the day I met him. He was just the one. He did everything right that I expected of a person. He didn't belittle me, he always looked after me. It was just right. I just couldn't fault it. So for me, from the time I met David, from the time he asked me out, went out, it was lovely. Went out for dinner, went out to a ball. It was perfect. And it's always been that way, that he's always looked after me.
I only had one best man, and we were in a vestry at Hare Street Methodist. We walked into the back just before the wedding ceremony. He came in and slammed the door and said, "There's no way out." We were then led to the altar, and when Judy came down the aisle, I looked at her and she looked at me, and from that day we were married. Before we were married. So no regrets, never looking back. I mean, I can't say there was one particular day that everything fell into place, because it was there from the start. I started pharmacy back in '54. In those days, penicillin was only just coming out. We still had things like polio, TB. They've been eradicated. So the biggest thing for me is the evolution of science. We've just had COVID. We've got vaccines for it. COVID is under control. So medicine and science would be the big things that stand in my mind. But as a kid, we used to look up at the moon and would say, "There's a man up there," because you could see the figure there. But we were lucky enough to be around when a man actually landed on the moon.
Would have been cool to see that.
Oh yeah.
Was. Changes over the years. In 1966, we went from our Australian money to decimal currency. That's when our first child went to school. We had a customer that came in the shop and said, "Well, I'm going interstate because I don't know what decimal I can't work it out." Little did she know that when you didn't know where you went in Australia, everybody had decimal currency. You had decimal currency. Eventually we had TV we'd never seen. We had computers and mobile phones. It's a different world. Like, we had to go from inches to centimetres and metres. We were never taught that. So our children possibly know more about it than we do, even though we were taught completely different.
Transportation was difficult. When we were first married, we had no car. If we wanted a car, we borrowed the family car. If we went out at night, particularly to Judy's mum, who lived down at near Glenelg, we caught the bus home. Even though she was 6 or 7 months pregnant in the middle of winter, we still caught the bus home. We bought our first car, a Hillman Minx, when Judy was 8.5 months pregnant with Graham. And actually we had, because we had a bank, SA bank office, we had a safe. And so we kept cash. So we went up to CMV and we paid $984 in cash for our first car.
Not bad.
Special price.
You haggled them.
Dad worked there.
Right.
Firm's discount.
No, it was pound.
Pound. All right.
You said dollars.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay. Scrub that. As you know, I was a country kid, and I had a little fox terrier called Skipper, and he and I were great mates. And we'd go for hours and hours, just walk, explore, see the countryside, and that's when I got my real love for the country, and which I've maintained to this age. Then we came to the city, and I had a mate, and we had a couple of bikes, and we would go ride our bike anywhere from around the city up into the country. We'd leave early in the morning on a Sunday. We'd get home late at night on the Sunday, still as long as it was in daylight. So the thing that I had was freedom. And this is the things that the kids today don't have, because with our grandchildren, they've had to be taken to school, had to be picked up. They haven't been able to have a free rein to do what they want to. So the things that I have that kids today don't have is freedom.
Damn, you guys look good.
You scrub up well on camera, that's for sure.
Nothing like a soft lens.
Take the soft lens away, it might try another story.
How did we meet each other? Judy was a dental nurse on Anzac Highway, and I was a pharmacy apprentice on the other side of Anzac Highway, where the Roxy is now. She was always dressed in beautiful white uniform, starched it every day, and she looked the sort of person that I think, wow, she's beautiful. But she was a bit haughty. So my boss, he had a bet with me for 10 shillings, which was a lot of money, that she wouldn't go out with me. Needless to say, I won the bet. We actually went out. It was an Adelaide High School Old Scholars. It was at the Richmond Hotel. I borrowed the family car. We went out to dinner first. After dinner, I went to get my tickets out of my pocket, and I left the tickets home. So the big anticlimax fell a little bit flat. But I won the bet, and we're still together.
I was a bet, I found out afterwards. I didn't know about this bet until a long time after.
You're worth 10 shillings.
Yeah, it was 10 shillings, 10 bob. Knowing David as I do, is just the one to do it. Absolutely. Like, we've met a couple, and he was like David, they'd bet on anything, and whoever won the bet, we girls could go out and buy a frock or whatever. The guy said, "Yeah, you can't climb that palm tree." David said, "Right,
Coconut
you're
tree.
on." I forget how much the bet was. He climbed up the palm tree, but then coming
Have you
down...
ever climbed a palm tree?
Sucks.
Coming down, I was raw.
And he was
I got up all right.
a nice rash, and I said, "Yep, and what was your next party trick?" And he said...
Won the bet.
He won the bet. So, yes. So we girls could go and splurge on something that we'd like.
I can't remember. It must have been in Thailand with Mum and Dad and John. Mum and Dad were talking about that just the other day, and Dad was saying, "I can't believe you bloody climbed that stupid palm tree." It's good to know that someone else has done it.
Yeah.
Oh, we've done some funny things, but look, saying that, that's what it's all about. I was the dental nurse over the road, had to go over. They used to sell the newspaper, and my boss would say, "Nurse, would you go over and get the newspaper?" Off I'd go, and David, of course, served me, and I said, "Oh," got the paper, came back, and I thought, "Gee, he's a nice-looking boy." But then when my boss found out that I was going to there, he wanted me to... There used to be a paper boy on the corner of Anzac Highway and South Road. And he said, "You're not to go to the pharmacy, you've got to go to the boy on the corner," because I was... I think he found out that I was purposely going to the pharmacy to see David. So he pulled out to a grand halt. But that's how I met David.
It's like fishing. Judy was casting the line,
Oh, come on.
and I took the hook. What do I think of money, life, and happiness? Money is a necessity. If you work reasonably hard, you'll get paid. The most important thing is that you don't spend more than you have. If you save regularly, invest it wisely, the eventual end point will be that you'll have enough for what you want. Life, you only have one life. You only have one body. So it's your duty to look after your body, whether it be by exercise or by diet. So I have done that. I've more than likely pushed my body more than I should have. I've run more marathons than what I should have. I've done more exercise than what I should have. But I'm still alive and I'm still happy. So I would say to anybody, live every day as if it's your last, because one day it's going to be. You have been dealt a deck of cards. You play those cards as well as you can. The main thing is not to be envious of other people. Be satisfied with your lot, and happiness will automatically follow. Surround yourself with good people, good relatives, good friends. You're bound to be happy.
You need money, as you'll find out, but if you're prepared to work and save. Don't spend more than what you get in. It will work out. Just be sensible. Like, you don't have to have the latest of everything. You've got other things home and they work all right, don't they? So just be happy with that one. I suppose we've been fortunate. We have had a good life, and it's been exciting. Done a lot of things that we've loved, but do it while you're young. As you get older, you can't do the things that you would love to have done. So if you've done them before, you accept it as such, and it's fine. How could I not be happy? I've met the right person, married the right person, been looked after. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Being a parent means everything to me. As far as I'm concerned, of all the things I've done in life, being a parent is by far the most important. Having 3 boys, I encouraged them in everything that they did. As far as sport, that was an end product in our place. We always had a ball, we were always playing. I've bowled hours and hours in the backyard, only to get out the first time I got in and then have to bowl hours and hours again. But as a parent, it's our responsibility to bring your children up so they can take their place in the world. And it's a very competitive world, so they have to be competitive. And if you do that, you can set them up for life. I suppose that we took them by car to pretty well every sport. We followed them as much as we could. I worked Saturday morning, but I still had Saturday afternoon off, Sunday mornings for practice. But we became involved with our children. The other day, I went to a bowls final for my 60-year-old son, so we're still taking interest in our children. We've been blessed with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, so our life as far as children are complete. But you quite often hear that children want quality time. In my humble opinion, children want all your time. So give them as much time as you can just to be with them. For me, I look at my children and they are me. So any faults could be my faults, any credits could be my credits. So you have to take a responsibility for your children, but whatever they do, you always stand behind them and you never ever cast them aside, because your children are number one. And in our marriage, our children knew that Judy was number one, the boys were number 2. And so if either of us gave an instruction, the other parent wouldn't double down on it. So you do your best. That's all you can do.
To me, love them and let them know that they're loved. Don't cast them aside. They still want, doesn't matter whether it's your child, grandchild, great-grandchild, they all want, if they like you, they would like your attention, to just acknowledge them or talk to them. Don't cast them aside. Just any little thing, and they love that. Well, that's what I feel they do.
As I've said before, I was a country kid and I went to a little school when Mount Barker was just a small town. It was a combination class of 3, 4 and 5. Our teacher was Mr. Murphy. I presume he had a Christian name, but nobody would have ever known. His whole idea was it didn't matter how poor you were, shoe polish cost nothing. Shine your shoes, be neat and tidy, and try to learn as much as you could. Respect your elders and just keep your ears open, because it's amazing what you can learn just by listening.
My best mentor is the person I married, David, and he has helped me tremendously. And here's my life. Simple.
How would I like to be remembered is that with family, business, sporting colleagues, that I've always tried my hardest. Doesn't matter what position, whether it was a no-win situation, I've always tried and I've endeavoured to bring out the best in other people. So, in a word, I tried as best I could.
I'd like to think that I've helped, tried to look after people, tried to just put people at ease. I didn't want to be any better than anybody else, just helping, and I'm more than happy with that. But I hope at the end of the day that our 3 boys always get on well together.
Got tissues? The hardest thing as a child that as I can remember is fairly prominent in that I'd gone on a school camp. It was actually a visiting school that had come down from Manham, and they came and we billeted them out and we went to Tom Playford's cherry farm. When I got back to the school, an auntie was there to tell me my brother had died. He was 15 and I was 11. Needless to say, my parents were heartbroken, and from that time on, I became the senior member of the family. It wasn't very long after that I took over doing their books for them. So Dad had no idea. His receipts were kept in a shoebox. So I did his tax. And so when anybody says, you were your mum's favourite, there was a reason, because I actually helped keep the family together. Yeah, see, when my eldest sister back a few years ago had dementia, I looked after her. She was down in Warradale. Her husband had died, so I took over all her financial affairs. I think the experience with Bob taught me to grow up faster than most 11-year-olds should. A little bit, about 6 months after that, Dad sold the farm and we came down to the city at Prospect, where I was in grade 7 in July. I was well behind with the rest of the class because academically Mount Barker was behind Prospect. My mother every night helped me with my studies. I came up and became one of the smarter kids in the school, and when I started at Adelaide High, the first day at Adelaide High they gave you a broad spectrum test of which you were marked and you were placed in the particular school, a particular class. Because of the work my mother had done for me, I was able to get into class 1A, which gave me the better teachers, and I had maths, physics, chem and French and Latin, and that was the thing that gave me the opportunity to improve my scholastic ability and eventually get a scholarship to go to university. There are lots of adjectives that I could be described by my friends, depending how friendly my friends were. Determined would be more than likely the number 1. Positive, I would think, would be number 2. And understanding would be number 3. Whenever I'm involved with my friends, I try to involve them in conversation. I try to bring out the best with them, but I'm also very competitive, and when I'm playing a minor sport, there are no free hits. So I try the best I can, and doing that, I'm sure I bring out the best in other people.
Kind, trustworthy, and compassionate.
I said passionately, but a big
Compassionate,
okay.
David.
Okay, well you go.
Do you agree with those adjectives?
Definitely. Kind. As I said, instead of passionate, compassionate, I was going to say passionate, but that's all right.
I don't think I could put, he was baiting me and I said, you can't say that.
No, not to East.
To my husband, yes.
Okay, Jude.
Pardon?
Okay.
Right, or anything else you'd like to know?
Once again, I was a country kid, and I had ferrets. Ferrets, for anybody that doesn't know, we use for rabbits, getting rabbits out of the holes. What you'd do, you'd actually take your ferrets, you'd block all the holes. If there were, say, a half a dozen or so in the warren, leave one open with a wire net on the one. And the holes you'd block with straw or anything that was there. This particular day, I'd heard that if you light the straw, it brings the smoke down into the holes and it brings the rabbits out much more quickly. And so we were waiting, the smoke was coming out of the hole. I was with another friend. We were waiting, the smoke was coming out of the hole. Then all of a sudden we looked up and the rabbit warren was around a gigantic dead gum tree. And we could see the flames coming out of the top of the tree. So besides ruining the tree was a blast of flames, burnt the neighbour's fence, ruined 3 or 4 paddocks that were burnt to a crisp, and I think the ferrets are still in the hole. But what I would say is that I remember that day, and what I shouldn't have done was take matches.
End of story.
You've told me that story before, Pa, but I don't think you quite explained how devastating it was.
Oh, it was a mess. It was an old gum tree, and there's this flames going.
The finer bit. Didn't tell you what actually happened.
No,
Would that be right,
I'm
Josh?
pretty sure I heard he was smoking out the rabbits.
Yes.
And that's about it. I didn't hear jack shit
you're right.
about burning other people.
You're right. I said to David, I said, did you put the end bit on? He said, oh, I might have forgotten that.
Now, we got a question without notice. The proudest moment of my children are many. To pick out one is difficult. But Graham has never ever wanted to stand up and talk in front of people. And on my 60th birthday, Graham actually had compiled a speech. His hands were shaking, but he got up and he gave a beautiful speech, which I will remember. Brenton has always been the second child, and he's always said that the second child, no one takes very much notice of the second child. But Brent was about 18 and he decided he wanted to run a marathon, because I'd run a couple before. He trained and trained, and he would do his 2 hours 3 times a week, run long runs at the weekend. And the day of the marathon, it was from Gawler. It was from the Gawler trotting track, and we started at 6 o'clock in the morning, which meant we had to be in Adelaide at 4 o'clock. We'd been running about 100 metres and Brent had the stitch. So for the next 42 Ks, he had to run with a stitch. When we got around, the finishing line was around near the Bundy's on the University Oval, and we're about 100 metres from the finishing line, and I reached into my pocket and I drew out a comb, into my sock, down my sock, drew out a comb, and to actually comb my hair so I looked nice for the cameras. And Brent just couldn't believe it. He was absolutely exhausted. He finished the line, he crossed the line, and he collapsed into my arms. And I can always remember Brent. He has a photo of that at home, and that's his proudest photo. As you know, Andy was Master of Westminster and looked after West Venture. He asked if I wanted to come down there with him. And I said, yeah. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I'd like to paddle across the lakes. He said, it's a long way. He said, but first of all, I've got to make sure that you're capable. So we went down to the beach, out Somerton, with his 2 kayaks. He put me in the kayak, pushed me out into the water, and I was there with the kayak. I could paddle all right. And he came to me and he said, give me your watch. I said, why? He said, you'll find out. He said, if I'm going to take you down there, I've got to make sure that you can get out of a kayak if you do tip it, because there's every chance you will tip it. He duly tipped me out. I actually snaked out. I got back in the kayak with Andy's help. and he is the one person in this world that I trust my life with.
Me being a mother, and David was always the adventurous one. I think he had more adventure with the children, whereas
You cook the meals.
I cook the
Wash the
meals,
socks.
I'd drive, I'd do the washing, ironing, cooking, cleaning, drive them to school, pick them up and
You were
take
there.
them.
You were there.
So I was very organised. I had to be, like up, showered, dressed, bedroom all done, breakfast on the table. David would drive the boys to school. In that time I would have the washing on the line, have the tea ready for tea that night. Done deal. I'd be in the shop by 9 o'clock.
Did you ever get tired?
Yes,
And how did you deal with that?
just kept on going.
Do you think a lot of people in your generation just kept on going?
No, but I'm fairly determined in what I want to do, and it has to be done right. That has been my life, that I've had to be very organised, and if we were not organised, it just would not happen. There was 10 hospitals we looked after, so it was fairly full on. So the time we'd have tea, I reckon the bell, front door bell would go most nights. We would have to get up during the night for a doctor that wanted a script done for a customer that wasn't well. So yes, it was fairly full on, but we were together. We've never been apart. And I know a lot of people could not do what we did, but we got married, we worked together, we've never ever been apart, ever.
And that's something you're very proud of?
Very proud, yeah. When I see couples that say, oh, I'm glad that Bill's gone away, I can have a bit of time to myself. I'm lost without David. He's my life. Simple.
As she said, she'd shower, I'd shave, she'd put her makeup on, I'd get dressed, we'd make the bed, and the bed was all, where the bedroom was clean, the house, that part of the house was tidy at 8 o'clock. But because she worked the long hours that she did, I paid her a lot more than the other shop girls were getting. And the deputy commissioner, or his representative, rang up and said she shouldn't be paying this amount of wage to this particular woman because she couldn't possibly be worth that. So I invited the taxation inspector to come down for a week at 7:30 in the morning and stay with her all day. That was the condition. He had to stay there all day and he would see how much work she did. Because besides being very, very good in the dispensary, she did all the deliveries, so she was the public relations outside as well. But we had made the conscious decision of buying the property in her name so I could pay her rent. Then I could actually, because she was on the wage bill, I could pay her wages. And because she was on the wages, I could superannuate her. And once again, the taxation department queried that too. But we got away with that as well.
They've been screwing us for years, I think.
Jude?
Sorry. And they're still doing it.
Yeah,
So,
do that to everyone.
you know, yes, we have worked hard, but, you know, for all that, look, it's been worth it. I've had the pleasure of being with David all that time, and we've had fun.
When we decided to retire, Judy had a little bit of a worry, and what she said, will we be okay financially? I said, yes, we've got everything under control. She said, will I be able to have my hair done once a week and have my nails done? Yes, you will be able to have that done. So once that was done, that was the most important thing, to have her hair done regularly, which she has done now.
Always had my hair done.
So she has a hair. Her hair is done every week. Every 5 weeks it gets a little bit of a... We went out with a friend and they said, gee, you're lucky you haven't got a grey hair in your head. I said, yeah, but it costs. And then every 3 months, every 10 weeks she has a hair perm. So that is...
Tomorrow,
I like her looking nice.
tomorrow it gets cut, coloured and blow dry.
Beautiful.
I would like to say my only grandson is getting married in a couple of weeks' time, and I hope that you and Jess have as wonderful and as long as marriage as we've had. We can't ask for you. We can't wish you any more than that. You'll have more exciting things because Judy's a little bit conservative, where Jess is going to get dragged along a little bit faster. But one of the doctors retired a little while ago at 60, and my advice to him was do all the difficult physical pursuits, the worldwide travels, where you've got to both be fit, do it before you're 70, and you'll enjoy it more.
We've seen what we want to do when we could do it too, and now it's hard work.
Yeah.
You know, waiting to get on a plane, and then they say, oh, well, I'm sorry, we're running late. And then the time
You
get...
walk into a pub and you look around to see where the nearest toilet is.
That's about it too, yes. So all of those things. So, and as you get older, you have a few medical problems. And when you're younger, you don't have those problems. You're young, you can do what you want to do, hop on the bus, hop on the train, grab a bike.
And we're very envious of what you're going to be doing.
Oh,
because
you
you're
will
almost
have,
retracing the steps that we did 60 years ago.
that's what I said.
That'd be
I said
lovely.
they're doing exactly what we did. We were married on the Saturday. Monday we were on the ship, off and away. Okay, I was homesick at times, and you know, because you've never been away from home or never left.
Well, Josh
the
and
shores.
Jess have.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we'd never been out of Australia. So for us to do that, people would say, well, how can you do that? But of course, we'd gone on a ship that had bought the POMs out here for £10. We got on the ship, and certainly wasn't first class. It was, actually it was 2 bunk beds, and they made the top one and the bottom one. We never used the top one. The bunk beds were about this big. We slept on a bunk bed all the way, even through the Suez Canal, hot as blazes. But the guy eventually stopped putting the covers down, and then he eventually took the ladder away because he knew we weren't going to use the top bunk, and it was great.
Still taping.
What, Danny?
That's being taped. Judy.
Oh, is it? Oh, good grief. Oh, dear.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay. That's fine. My wish is that you have as happy as marriage as we have.
People would possibly say, oh, you're lucky. No, you're not lucky. You make your own luck, but you've got to work at it. And if you're not prepared to go down that track, don't go down it. But
There is luck in life, but you also are the architect of your own luck. You make your life. So you can't complain to other people if things go wrong, when you could have changed it.
Well, I think that is
Can you make something out of that?
absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
it's a pleasure. Thank you for all your time to put it together.
As an epilogue, Josh, can we just say thank you very much for the photographing. We hope it turns out as you wish, and I'm glad you've got a soft lens on it, that we won't look quite as old as what we actually are. But we've enjoyed the interview, so thanks very much.